Salutations, purpose seekers, and welcome to Livelihood Practice, where we ask questions and we answer with psychological tools and learning tips for navigating different life realms in hopes to heal and nurture our stories. My name is Amy. I am a former homeschooler, and I graduated UCLA with a personally designed interdisciplinary major, basically studying psychological development, sociocultural change, education systems and pedagogy, and the communications between these systems. So I am going to discuss a little further what that process was with the question, why should you have interdisciplinary approaches to learning? So I first entered UCLA, and it was quite a hectic story, so I'll link that video below. But basically, after a lot of transfer bias in the UCLA bureaucracy, my only option really was to stay in my major, choose a major that wasn't best fit for me, or design my own major. So I'm going to discuss the process of how I had to design my own major and why that was a good fit for me and why I think that's a good fit for everybody. So first, to begin, in order to design my own major, I first had to define what my major was. So I had to look into other programs and see what classes really represented what I wanted to study. And then I had to look into all the departments that I was interested in studying in and choose all the coursework that reflected the goals and values of my major, which were to basically understand how families and family systems were influenced by society and also psychology, and understand truly how children were brought up and best educated. So in order to really delve deeper into this, I had to define my major, but I also had to see how my major was a reflection of my own story. As a former homeschooler, I always sought to understand, how am I different than everyone else that goes to regular public school or even private school? Like, I just had such peculiar experiences compared to them. And then I also did dual enrollment, which further kind of made me stand out from a lot of other students, especially other homeschoolers, because most people tend to, and especially in high school, not do dual enrollment. They do AP or advanced preparatory classes or advanced placement classes, and other forms of college preparatory classes that are labeled under different names. And I didn't take any of these classes. I just went to college and I took these classes. So I always was able to have the opportunity and the time to choose my education and delve deeper into different fields that I was interested in. I know for a while I was interested in fashion design, and I got pretty heavily into it. That's a story for a separate video, but I decided that wasn't for me, and that's why I ended up choosing psychology as the field that I wanted to enter into and delve deeper with my learning interests. So after I defined my major and attached that to my story, I had to find two advisors. I had a little bit of issues with this at UCLA. Not everyone who's a professor, who already has so many research responsibilities and professorship responsibilities, wants to also take on another student that is another responsibility, doing whatever they're doing. And that's what I was doing. I was doing my own thing, and I needed a little bit of advice, a little bit of help. And not everyone accepted, but I was very, very blessed and lucky to have two advisors that really shaped my educational experiences, and especially at UCLA, and further impacted, my perspective today. After I got those two advisors, I had to prove why no other major, double major, and major or minor worked for me, and why this major that I basically designed out of basically a fluke and not fitting into the bureaucracy was best for me. And I also had to list all the coursework and alternative coursework. If you're a UCLA student, you understand if you're not doing everything you need with your requirements in that first round of picking your classes, you're almost screwed in your second round. So I was always in the second round trying to get my classes, and luckily I got most of them. But yeah, I did use some of those alternative coursework listed in my education plan. I also had to do a senior capstone, which was a research project, and I did a couple actually research projects while I was at UCLA. It's another video for another time. But overall, that was my UCLA basically mission that I set out in front of me in my 2 years as a transfer student, and I feel so lucky that I got this opportunity. It was a blessing in disguise, I often call it, because I was so stressed at this time trying to scramble, and I was given an option to choose, and it had a little bit of extra work attached to it. So honestly, ending up deciding to do this major was really beautiful experience, because not only did I get to learn more about myself, but also about different areas of education and research that I was inquisitive into looking into. Because when you're at university you're trying to find where you best fit in the world, and university is essentially supposed to equip you with the tools and practical education basics that prepare you for the workforce. For me, I had a very tough time seeing if I should work at a macro level or a micro level, and I also had a tough time seeing if I should work in an education environment or work for nonprofits, or how I just fit within society. And I'll also link below my video on society, because that'll help you understand where I had to kind of see where I fit within the system, and maybe seeing that video could also help you see where you best fit in the workforce or the system. So basically for me, I ended up deciding that after everything that I studied at a political level, at an economic level, and at a sociological level, I wanted to best psychologically support people as a therapist, and hopefully not only working at some level with the state, also with nonprofits, and eventually privately as well. So that's where I feel with my skills and my interests and what makes me feel like I'm in my element, where I best belong in the society and where I want to work. And that's different for everybody. And I realized also while I was doing this education, most people don't realize they can take a holistic approach to what they study. And I was really shocked by this, because I met a lot of other psych majors who just want to either do research or become a therapist. And I felt like that was, it killed me to hear it every time, because I don't think that's how necessarily the degree sets you up best. I think that you can use psychology for anything and everything, and I believe this of all majors. You can find in some way that one discipline interconnects with another discipline, and they're so beautifully intertwined, because that's what makes life real. Life is not just this one-dimensional, one-lens way of approaching the world. There's so many different ideas and lenses you could add to that to see a more full picture. And I see that if you look into your story and you see what aspects of your life have made you you, and also take from that the skills you've gained from your story, it can enlighten upon you a idea about what disciplines make up your life. And that also, it gives you an insight into who you can become and what services you want to provide in the workforce. My best advice is especially when you start your university education, but right before that, even in high school, middle school, elementary school, like that's a beautiful time to explore, and our school system really fails in nourishing your interests into these different disciplines. So my hope with this video is to spark in you an inquisition to see what parts of your story have made you have the skills that you have and the interests that you have. And from there, look into what different kinds of things you can study. And this could even happen at a trade school level. It does not need to be at a university or college level. And see if those disciplines can connect with other disciplines, because that beautiful intertwining can make you unique. And the more unique you are, the more specialized you are in the workforce, the more sought after, and also the more you can fill a niche that's truly, truly needed. So see what disciplines you can interconnect. I'm not saying if you're at UCLA to design your own major, but certainly you have the power to choose an interdisciplinary, eclectic education in whatever form that comes in. And life is not one-dimensional, it's multidimensional, and so are you. Therefore, you should have an education that's interdisciplinary. Anyways, that's my little take on that. If it was helpful, please let me know and leave a like. If you would love to share your story, I'd love to hear comments below. What disciplines have helped you become who you are? What parts of your story really represent different things that you're interested in? And have you been left out of what you've been interested in studying because you feel subject to a bureaucracy or a path that you're supposed to do? I'm really interested to hear, so please leave a comment below. I'll have some resources in the description, and subscribe if you're interested in hearing more about, how I've come to be on this story and how I can help you on this story using psychology and learning tools. That's my hope. Anyways, purpose seekers, thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.